Hello everybody and welcome to another segment of the Hearthstone Meta Hype. Now I'm here with Ecore. We are chilling. We are going to talk about the nerfs. Yes, we are. So Ecore, just wanted to say what's up, man. Thanks for being here. How do you feel?
I feel so much happier knowing the nerfs are out. By the time you guys see this video, the nerfs will already be out. I'm pretty sure the nerfs are already out as of the making of this. And I am actually excited to play Hearthstone again. Dude, Deck of Lunacy was so stupid, but now it's gone. Well, kind of.
Well, I saw the tweet that you made, and I think you gave this a 10 out of 10. So why don't we just get into it and start with the standard balance updates.
10 out of 10 might have been a bit overkill. Probably 8 or 9 would have been better, but I was just excited to see Deck of Lunacy nerfs. So I gave it a 10. But yeah, I think most of the nerfs are pretty much what people were already asking for. We'll get into all the cards in a second, but let's just start with Deck of Lunacy because it was the most problematic card, other than maybe Penn, sneak peek to what's coming later. But Deck of Lunacy went from a 2-mana card to a 4-mana card with the same ability. And when initially making my tweet and when I was making my video about this nerf, I was like, at 4 mana, it's a lot. It is worse because the whole point of Deck of Lunacy is you play it turn 2, and for the next couple of turns, you will draw some more broken cards, and making Deck of Lunacy turn 4 means that you'll draw at least 2 less broken cards. And since it's 4 mana, it'll help you, or it'll cause Mage to lose to aggro a little bit more consistently, because they, again, slows them down for 2 turns, which means that if I'm playing Face Hunter, I have essentially 2 more turns to try to kill them, before they start getting all their broken stuff out, which from that standpoint, I thought was decent. But somebody in my comments was like, but turn 4 is going to be so powerful for Mage now. They just play Refreshing Spring Water and Deck of Lunacy on the same turn. And that's true, but at the same time, you could have already done that, right? And you would have also had 2 mana left over. So just objectively, this is going to slow down Deck of Lunacy. I'm very excited for it. The ability staying the same for those of you who haven't seen the nerfs yet. It's still going to transform all of the cards into costs 3 more, but keep the original cost. Still going to have the same interaction with Incanter's Flow and all that. But yeah, I like the nerf. I think that they could have done a little bit more, maybe make it 5 mana, so you couldn't just play it and Refreshing Spring Water on the same turn 4. When they brought that up, I was like, okay, that nerf isn't that bad actually, because they can still draw and do a ton of stuff on turn 4. But the nerf slowing them down helps into aggro, slows them down a little bit, makes it a little bit weirder to keep in your opening hand, because now if you do keep it, again, like since you're slowed down, it means that you have 1 less like good card to stop aggro, and this is just gonna sit in your hand for a while. So I overall liked the nerf. What were your thoughts on it?
I was a bit harsh on this card, and I thought that it should go to 6 mana or even 7, and that was my because I just wanted to kill it. I think that what this did, and I looked at it with a little bit more objectively and just kind of like without emotion, I looked at this nerf as pretty decent. Reason why is because what you said, it does go to 4 mana, so it stalls the seeing coin Deck of Lunacy on turn 1, right? It also makes it pretty much dead to keep in your opening hand. And
yeah, it is now a dead draw in your opening hand for a while.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. And so I think the nerf is fair. I would have liked it to go on to 5 mana, I believe, just with because the cost of your cards, 3 more, is just such a strong effect. And technically, it's just so strong. I mean, that just really is strong, because think of it, every card that's in your deck that is 1 mana, right,
is now a 4 cost spell,
which is potentially a fireball.
Yeah,
right,
which is ridiculous.
And right, so it's still really super strong effect. So I might have liked to see something maybe like a 4/2 more even. But I think that this card, what'll happen is more competitive players and more players on ladder will tend to just go away from this. They'll say, yeah, you'll get they'll just be like, hopefully, yeah, it was broken and I'm just no longer going to play it, and I'm going to try something else. Yeah. And so I think it'll accomplish its goal, to just that every single person won't be playing this deck. Like, I mean, my matchups were about literally 75 to 80% of my games were against Mage. And I just stopped playing because I just got so sick of it. I have the statistics to prove it. We saw it on Twitter. I put it up there. It was just ridiculous. I mean, I just couldn't play against anything but Deck of Lunacy. And it became really super frustrating. So I think that it'll curtail the play of this card. I think it'll take down many of the players from playing it. And I think that's really all I have to say about it. So next up is Sword of the Fallen, right?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing. Well, 2 more things with Deck of Lunacy. One, I don't know if anybody agrees with me on this, but I think the decks the Deck of Lunacy and Deck of Chaos should be the same cost. I think Deck of Chaos should also be 4 mana because in its current state it's unplayable, but I feel like could be really fun. Just throwing that out there. But the other thing is that I actually think that this card might be replaced with Cthulhu. Maybe this is too early to tell, but I think Cthulhu will give you a good late game win condition, and Spell Mage already has a ridiculous amount of burn. Like, I've lost a ton of games to Spell Mage without them even playing Deck of Lunacy because they have 2 Mask of Cthulhu's, 2 Fireballs, 2 Apexis Blasts, the runic or the runed orb that allows them to discover another fireball or whatever. So I don't know. I think that Spell Mage will actually still see a decent amount of play. Not as much, obviously, but it'll still be like a top 5 deck play rate, I think. Maybe not immediately because people want to experiment, but they'll fall back into it. But Sword of the Fallen is a card that I think is objectively so much worse now and will actually hurt Paladin a ton and is not RNG based. Well, I mean, kind of, because you draw cards, but that's not the same kind of RNG as Deck of Lunacy. But yeah, Sword of the Fallen went from a 2 mana 1/3 weapon that says after your hero attacks, cast a secret from your deck to a 2 mana 1/2 weapon after your hero attacks, cast a secret from your deck. And the reason why this is big, and the main reason, is it just lowers the consistency of Paladin for 2 reasons. 1, it means that you're able to get 1 less secret, which means that you're not going to get as many resources out on the board. And 2, since you're getting out 1 less secret, it means that you're going to potentially draw another secret or 2, assuming you maybe even play Sword of the Fallen twice. You'll draw secrets a little bit more. So on a pivotal turn when you're like, I need a Libram of Hope right now, or I lose the game, but if I draw it, I can win, and you top deck a secret because you have 1 more secret in your deck than normal, it would just lower the consistency of your draws a little bit, because that's the biggest weakness of Paladin. It's a tempo deck that only has a couple of good draw cards like Hand of Adal, the 3 mana 3/4 I always forget the name of that draws a minion from your deck, and Sword of the Fallen, and nerfing one of its 3 draw engines will actually hurt the deck a lot because it'll have to rely more on top decking this way, and the top decks might be a little bit worse now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can't even add really anything to it. You got to leave a little something for Venga to eat on the table there. But no, it's exactly that. 2 mana, 1/2. It becomes a little bit more fair. The problem is that with this deck, the problem was with this card is that Sword of the Fallen was played on turn 2. Turn 2, get us a secret. Turn 3, get a secret. And turn 4, get a secret. And you thin your deck. The deck thinning is such a thing, and it just relies on that. It creates a situation where you now don't have that ability to draw the secret, and now it's like kind of, it's drawing a secret could be bad because it's basically, it's just you don't need that card sometimes.
Secrets,
especially if it's a duplicate secret.
Yeah, I was gonna say secrets in the Paladin deck have the lowest mulligan and drawn, and I think even like played win rate. Like the 3 lowest drawn win rate cards in this order are Oh My Yogg, and then Avenge, and then Galloping Savior. Those are the 3 worst cards to draw, 3 worst cards to have in your mulligan, and 3 worst cards to play other than Libram of Justice. But Libram of Justice, that's a card you play from behind, so statistically it should have a low played win rate because you play that card to like try to come back into the game. So that one makes sense, but the 3 secrets are objectively terrible to draw. And that is why nerfing the Sword of the Fallen and making it a little bit more problematic, or probable, that you draw a secret helps to balance Paladin immensely. But it still has the same tempo, right? You still play at turn 2 and you can get 2 secrets, which will still be strong. So Paladin isn't like killed, it just doesn't have as much value and consistency.
Yeah, and the other thing too is now the second one that you play, if you happen to play that one, if you have to play it on, say, turn 5 or 6, you might be looking at smashing, you're looking at smashing a 8/8 in the face just because it has taunt. Yeah, so it becomes a little less playable late game as well. So
yeah,
I think
it's only got 2 durability. It's not even like it's a good weapon to push damage. It's just not very good late game too.
It's kind of crazy. So I think this one is definitely fair, and I think that it will.
I think it was a good nerf. This is exactly what like we and a lot of other people called for.
And it's good.
Another card that people were talking about nerfing, and a way that they nerfed, and Blizzard nerfed it in a way people were asking, was Jandis, and making its mana go up by 1, and making it 6. This is something that a lot of people, when I was talking to them, were talking about, because just playing it on turn 5 and getting 2 5-cost minions is nuts. Because even though, yes, technically one of them dies to just a ping, but when both of the minions you summon are like a 5/5 and a 5/6, and then also Jandis, even though one of them dies immediately, it's still hard to kill both of them because you're probably gonna have to trade something in, unless you're like a mage or whatever and you can ping it, because that's mage kind of has a built-in way to deal with this, I guess. But just slowing this card down by 1 mana means it's still going to be really powerful. In Rogue, you're still gonna be able to like shadow step it and play it pretty effectively. It just means it's not gonna be like game over turn 5. I've lost entire games because they play Jandis turn 5. Both cards are like 4/5s or 5/5s or 5/6s. I guess the wrong one as the thing that dies, and then I just lose the game because I don't have any other way of dealing with it. And that's another thing. With both of the 5 costs being good, you can play mind games constantly. Like a 4/5 versus a 5/5, everyone assumes the 4/5 will die in one hit, so they just ping it real quick, like the mage will ping it. But I'll make the 5/5 the thing that dies in one hit. So for those of you who end up playing against me, just know that this is the mind game I use, because since they're both so good all the time, I'm fine losing 1 damage to hopefully get them to ping the wrong minion. And now it's just going to slow that down, and I think that this nerf was pretty good. It keeps Jandis being good, strong, but a little bit slower. What are your thoughts?
Same. It's the thing I can add is that you can, it's now when you shadow step it instead of 3 mana, it's 4.
True.
Right? So it helps there, and that's a good thing. But I think it needed to go into this route. I think this is the right move to go to 6. If you go to 7, you kill it. If you change it to like 2 4-cost minions, you kill it.
Would you kill it? I feel like 4 cost is decent, but yeah, I see a point.
There's a lot of good 4 costs though. There are some really good 4 costs. Yeah. If you get like I remember you made a tweet and I said Kargoth Prime is a good 4 cost. There's a lot of good.
There are a lot of good 4 costs
minions. So I think that would be almost in some ways you might get a little bit better pool than you think in that. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I also think a 4 cost pool would have been better because I think there are more 4 cost minions and cards in general. So even though like they'd still have a lot of decent cards, it would have made it like more diluted still. So you could have gotten some bad cards more consistently. But yeah, I don't know. Making it 6 mana was fine. I think making it random 4 cost minions would have been cool actually. But I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, it could see a change again. I doubt it, but it could see a change again. I think that the card will still be played.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I think that it's just not as oppressive. I mean, the card is just super crazy in Rogue especially. True. And one of the things is this card was really structured more towards, I shouldn't say really more towards Mage, but when it was played in Mage, you could also use a Conjurer's Calling on Jandis as well. So
true. There were combos with Rogue and Mage. Shadow Step for Rogue, Conjurer's Calling for Mage. Both very good.
Yeah, we figured out how to exploit it. Now, speaking of exploitation, let's talk about Penflinger.
Dude, this card is dead. This card is absolutely dead. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Penflinger was a 1 mana, 1/1 battle cry, deal 1 damage. Spell burst, which is whenever you cast a spell, or the first time you cast a spell, this thing will trigger. Return this to your hand. But now the battle cry of the card is deal 1 damage to a minion, which is a huge nerf because mages and even Libram Paladins' main sources of damage in the end game were Penflingers. Like there would be games where they push 10 or more damage with Penflingers alone, and not having that damage really hurts Rogue, and it hurts Paladin a little bit less, I'd say, because of Libram of Wisdoms, you're still gonna be able to get some really big minions out there for really cheap. Like you hero power Libram of Wisdom it 4 times, make a 5/5 for 2 mana every turn. So like it'll still be okay in Paladin, and it combos really well with Libram of Justice. You make everything 1 health, so you can just Penflinger and ping off all of their stuff. But in Rogue, it is absolutely dead. Almost all of the damage from Penflinger would go face, and yeah, I think the card is dead, and we don't have to hear "Hey loser" anymore, or at least much less, which is so nice. I'm just so glad that they nerfed this card. It was either deal 1 damage to a minion, or somebody said deal 1 random damage. So that way, if you do happen to wipe the board, or your opponent's playing like no minion mage and doesn't have a board, Penflinger could randomly go face or something like that, which could have been interesting. So you could still like have the potential to go face, but I didn't like that very much because if it was random, that would just be one more random thing in Hearthstone that would be kind of frustrating. So I think they took the correct route with this card, and I think it's mostly dead, but I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think it's still going to be a problem?
I don't think it'll be a problem. I don't think it's entirely dead. I just think it'll be used differently. I think it's a great card to ping still in Rogue, to ping off some of your own minions. You know, the damage are bot,
like the Octobot,
mech, so it's like kind of
true.
Yeah, Octobot, you know, it's it's good to put a little control, but yeah, it's pretty much dead in Rogue. In Paladin, I think it's going to see less play. I just think it's one of those cards that had a lot of, dare I say, suck factor. I mean, even in Demon Hunter, you would see this card just played against you, and you're like, oh man. And
even in some Hunter decks recently, like Spell Hunters.
Yeah. So it was just kind of weird. I have to say that I really, really disliked that battle cry. I know I'm not soft, guys. Look at Venga is not soft, but to hear a "Hey loser" all the time could be really detrimental to some people.
It's just annoying.
It's not. Oh my god! It's not a positive. It's just not positive. It's not good for people.
Like it made me want to turn off Hearthstone sound, just so I didn't have to listen to it.
Words
anymore.
matter, guys. Honestly, though, I know that I'm getting a little bit heavy, but words matter. Hey loser, hey loser, hey loser. Not cool to hear over and over for in the meta. So that's my deep thought for the day on that one. But yeah, this card, I just always hated this card, and I think that it's probably dead. I think, like you said, I think Penn Flinger. One more time for your mind, you are the loser.
Yep.
I think you lose.
True. It's funny. At the end of the day, he ended up being the loser.
Yep, exactly. So our watch post is next up.
I talked about both of the watch posts in the same way because they got the same nerf. Essentially, what happened to the watch posts, for those of you who don't know, they are two cards that can't attack but have unique abilities. The far watch post says after your opponent draws a card, it costs 1 more. And the Morshan watch post says can't attack but after your opponent plays a minion, summon a 2/2 grunt. And we could talk about far watch post first because I think that there were a couple of ways they could have nerfed this actually. One of them is the thing that they did, which was lower its health from a 2/4 to a 2/3, which is quite good. I think that this was a nerf. This was the nerf I called for because it now makes it easier to kill. There's a lot of 3 damage removal out there, so it's easier to kill. But another nerf that they could have done was say after your opponent draws its first card, like the first card costs 1 more. So that way it didn't constantly punish people for drawing more and more cards. Because it basically said into Warlock, you're screwed if this is played against a Warlock. Because Warlock's whole thing is it wants to draw cards, but every single card costs more to draw, but also it has 4 health, so you can't soul shear it. You're just in a really crappy position. And if this is played in Priest, which some priests ran this card, like in some matchups, fine, you soul shear it, and then you could like School Spirits at the next turn and eventually kill it. But against Priest, they just heal it up too, and it would be even worse. So I think lowering the health was nice, but they also could have taken the route to just make it less mana value, I guess. Make it increase the cost of less cards. But I feel like that would have been weird because it does want to punish classes for drawing. It is a good counter for Warlock that Priest will probably run, actually, if Ticketus Warlock becomes super popular. So that way you can increase Ticketus, because let's say you increase the cost of Ticketus, it makes it harder to corrupt, which will mean that like the Priest will have an extra turn or two to potentially draw their important cards. So that'll be nice, that is nice, and lowering its health just makes it easier to deal with for every single class in the game. What are your thoughts on the nerf?
Yeah. Well, I think it's fitting. I think that's the right thing. I mean, Soul Shear, there's lots of removal. You can, with a rogue, there's backstab and a hero power now.
True.
And so there's lots of ways to get rid of it. I think it's the right play. Just to your point though, on the funny part about that Warlock thing where you said that it stops the corruption, but here's the thing. It doesn't stop it in that because it does stop it, but it delays it, right? Because
it just means Sociologist and Strongman can't corrupt anymore because you'd sometimes play those cards to just corrupt Ticketus to play on turn 8. Right. Now you'd have to play it on turn 9.
But here's the thing is whenever I play against the far watch post and right now and someone puts it out there, I just hit the draw button. So I just because then my cards will cost 1 more, and so if I happen to draw a Sociologist, it still corrupts Ticketus.
True. I'd still draw again. Also, it just felt worse because now this costs 1 more mana.
Yeah, but the deck is late game anyway, so it's like you figure, well, what the hell, it's one more cost, so you just don't, because the draw is so powerful. The Warlock hero power is just so ridiculously powerful. The draw is just so crazy. So, but the next card, the Morshan, is also, I think they did the right thing. They reduced the health. Not really much more to talk about with that because I think this card is more balanced.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with this card to begin with, actually.
Yeah, at 5 mana, it's like, at 5 health, it was kind of like,
it was kind of problematic. I do think that a 3 mana 3/4 is a little bit more balanced, but this card was put in here to counter aggro and minion based matchups. For those of you who don't know, by the way, it says after your opponent plays a minion, summon a 2/2 grunt. And that countered aggro, right? Like a hunter would try to flood the board, or an aggro demon hunter, or even a rogue with pen flingers. They'd want to play a ton of minions, but now they can't really do that. And I didn't really have a problem with this card because I feel like it was a little bit easier to play around. Because like, okay, if you're playing a control deck, you just don't play minions, and if you're playing an aggro deck, you'll like use some of your burst damage on it and then play your minions again. But at the same time, like, it had a very niche thing that it countered, and you'd run this in a control deck to beat that.
Yeah.
But now it's not going to be played as much. I don't know. I actually didn't mind this.
It wasn't played that much anyway, though.
Yeah, it's true. It wasn't played
that
nearly as much as Far Watch Post, and the other Watch Post sees literally like 0 play. But like, I didn't mind the Morshan Watch Post. I thought it was an interesting, more balanced card. It was more situational than just like Far Watch Post, which is always good. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the nerf was good. Making it a 3-mana 3/4 means it's a little bit easier to deal with, but still high value. So it's harder for an aggro deck to kill. It's not like a 3-mana 3/3, which is fairly easy for it to kill. But I don't know. I think that it was a more balanced card to begin with. This is the one nerf that I was like kind of meh about, but it's fine. They nerfed it. They did their thing. And it's still fine.
I think that the only reason to play it is because of Cargill for the late game.
True.
And it's kind of cool. I'm glad they did it because it just makes sense along with the deal. But this is the funny part is that it technically, based on the way the watch post is now, instead of being able to take it out in, say, like even 3 turns, now you could take it out in 2 turns.
True.
Because if it's summoned a 2/2 grunt, you could have a 2/2 grunt on, like, if you played it on your side, you know what I'm saying, and your opponent playing it, the two of you playing watch post.
That's happened to me a couple of times before. And we just like summoning each other minions to kill off each other's watch posts.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. It does that. I would have been fine with it just not even being touched, though, to be honest with you. I think because it would have been nice to see it play, because I don't know, it does really
keep aggro decks at bay, and there's been a lot of aggro meta in the past, so I mean,
yeah.
I would have been okay with it not being changed, but I mean, it was nothing we can do about it. I'm kind of neutral about this. I could have gone either way with it, and I'm fine.
Yeah,
but those are all the cards. Unless you want to talk about battlegrounds. I don't play battlegrounds, but we can talk about it a little bit.
No battlegrounds for me, man. I'm all about standard Hearthstone, man. I'm chilling with you, man, on that. I just wanted to say though that I'm happy the nerfs came in, and overall I think I'll agree with you that this is about an 8 out of 10. I think that it'll take down some of the toxicity, but with every single nerf that comes in and every single balance change that comes in, something will rise. That's the deal. And I put up 3 decks that I think will kick up a notch. I put them up yesterday on my channel, so they'll kick up a notch. I know that Ecore also put a few decks up that he thinks will be good after the nerfs. We all knew these were coming. Just wanted to thank Hearthstone for doing it so soon after the meta was launched. I appreciate that, and I know Ecore does too. It didn't have to wait long at all. These came so fast, and
true, they did. they waited for Grandmasters, but that makes sense, right? They didn't want to nerf it in the middle of a tournament. But, yeah.
No, I'm messing around. They took too long to do this.
No, but like there's a legitimate reason. Like, they can't nerf it in the middle of a tournament. Like, that would change everything. So they kind of dug themselves a bit of a hole by having the tournament happen. But like, it's not like they could nerf it at that time.
Yeah, I know. I'm just busting chops.
Like, obviously it took a while though, but I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm just being facetious. But hey, we'll see you, man. You know how we do. Stay hype, and we'll see you next week.